Hello, welcome back to Dawn's Death to Life Parenting. Today I'm going to be talking about something I call a heart scare. This eliminates a lot of power struggling, at least with my little girls who are 1 and 5. This is something that I conceived of. I tried it. It worked. It eliminates stumbling blocks for me as a parent. I don't have a power struggle. This is one of my favorite things. It gives the girls language. It gives me language to help communicate things. It's all about self-respect, respect for others. It is just... Anyway, I better get into it. This is one of my favorite things. One area I used to stumble, and I see parents stumble all the time. This relates to a video I just did on do not answer the question why. Do not think that kids care about your problems as a parent or your issues or your reasons. Kids do not care. They should not care. They should not be given the opportunity to pretend like they care about my, adult, reasons for things or problems or thoughts. No, they are children. I do not even expose my girls to what I am thinking and my reasons behind things. It just backfires. I watch it backfire. I watch parents struggle. Anyway, that's a different topic. This topic is related though. A heart scare. So I'm going to give you a warning here. This requires self-respect. If that is something that you struggle with, like my 80% of my life I struggled with this. I'm still learning how to navigate each situation I come across, but I respect myself and I respect others, and unless I stumble. But the heart scare was born out of self-respect, and it was also born out of the proper relationship between a child and an adult, and it was born out of that ugly feeling when I realize I've stumbled and I've given the child too much to digest, and what I've done is wrong. What I've done has backfired. What I've done was not beautiful and not good. And so I had to figure something else out. So this is just, I love this so much. Okay, so I'll give an example to kind of frame this. So if you have little kids, and whether you have been around them at a playground and they've been climbing on something, or in a backyard or in a house, this happens often, especially if you have active children who like to climb like I do. I constantly have to decide as an adult, as the parent, am I okay with them climbing on this object, or am I not okay with them climbing on this object? I love saying yes. I hate saying no. This is another, topic, but I love letting them climb. I'm scared. And here's kind of the gray area. It's like, just because I am afraid, just because I am scared, I don't have to step in and say no. I don't have to step in and say stop. Sometimes I stumble in that, and I stop my 1-year-old from climbing, and now she won't climb the thing. And I'm like, man, my heart is sad about that. I realize, this thing is actually safe. I was scared. And what's also true is this is a safe climb for a 1-year-old, and I just stopped her, and now she won't try it again. It's like, I feel so sad about that. I do not like doing that. And I've gone the other way, where I've thought something was safe and I've let the child do it, and the child, this happened with my 1-year-old this weekend. She was climbing on a ladder at a playground, and her foot slipped and she fell, a few feet. And, I was right there to, and this is where it's like, if something that goes along with this is just, as a parent, I am at the ready to scoop a child up and comfort that child as long as that child needs to kind of recover from whatever sustained injuries. I hate saying it like that, but whatever injuries are sustained. And I actually like, this is going to sound weird, but my heart likes to err on the side of the girl learns their own limits rather than me stopping them all the time. I would rather the girl learn, even if it costs some tears and a fall once, I'm going to say, the strategies I use. I have a girl who gets injured under my watch, and we've never had an emergency room experience. We've nothing life-threatening, nothing has happened yet. But let's say a girl falls. I have a 5 and a 1. They love climbing. I'm scared frequently. Sometimes I step in, sometimes I don't. Maybe once a month I have a fall like that, maybe twice a month. And it happens. It's very sad when a little one gets hurt. And when that's over and they're feeling better and they're ready to play, it's like my heart, I love to see how they react and what kind of a courage they have. Are they going to try again, or are they going to be done climbing for the day? And I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, they get right back on the thing they fell off of and they try again, and they don't fall again. It is such a beautiful, and that is so beautiful. That is life. That's how I want, that's how I would choose somebody's attitude. If I could even choose an attitude for a child that I love, I would want them to cry about their pain, finish feeling bad, get up there and try it again. That's the attitude I want. That's the attitude I want. And anyway, so all this surrounds this concept of heart scare. Now, a heart scare is applicable. I've already talked about kind of my internal system where, I see a girl climbing, I feel scared inside. I don't say anything yet. I'm still deciding, am I going to say something or not? So this is where I would call this is a heart scare. I am feeling scared. My daddy heart is scared. That's a heart scare. Now, again, I'm not saying anything yet. My girls are climbing, they're playing, I'm watching them. I'm like, man, I'm scared or I'm not. And if I decide that I'm unwilling to bear the fear right now, and this depends on a lot of things, because this is my perception as a human. I am not right all the time. I feel scared. Again, it may be perfectly safe. I might be in a state of mind where I'm not feeling steady because of some other factor. Maybe I'm hungry. Maybe I'm low on energy. My fear factor is multiplied in these situations. And so I may be unwilling to feel the fear of a girl climbing on the top of a slide structure versus another day where I'm not feeling so unstable. I might be okay with it. It's my choice. I'm the parent. And listen to this. I'm the one who has to bear the burden of the fear that the child is creating. The child has a role. It's like a 2-person thing. It's a relationship. They have a role and I have a role. Sometimes, I'm more fearful. Other times I'm not. Sometimes they do things that are more risky. Sometimes they don't. It's like, this is a live, real-time, present, situation every single time. It is, I'm a person, they're a person. It's a relationship. And so if I'm watching a child climb, I'm feeling afraid. If it doesn't reach a threshold where, I'm willing to feel afraid and I'm willing to watch and see what happens, just like they are, I'll let that happen and I'll watch. And, they'll either fall rarely or they'll execute, or they'll have a slight, or they'll get to a point where they're, daddy help. It's like, I'm ready to help. Any little girl who asks for help, I will help. And then, that relieves my fear sometimes, and then, however, I'm about to get to really the meat and the meat of this, but all this is really important. This whole context is important to kind of understand this full picture. So this next part, this is the meat of it. So if I reach a point where I realize I am unwilling to bear the fear of this situation anymore, I get up and I walk over to the little girl, or maybe I have to say it immediately, like, hey, Ellie Jean, like, please get down, heart scare. Or I'll walk over to the girl. If Isla, I'm very sorry, sweetheart. I can't have you climbing on this. This is and sometimes I'll stop there. I won't even say why, but it's an interesting thought, actually, that sometimes I don't say why, but this is where it's like, if maybe I won't say why, but and the girl's like, oh, Daddy, why? I'm very sorry, Isla. This is a heart scare for Daddy. But Daddy, it's not scary. I'm very sorry, Isla. This is a heart scare for Daddy. I need you to find something else to play with. But Daddy, it's not. I'm not scared. I'm very sorry, Isla. It's a heart scare for Daddy. I need you to find something else to play with. This is where the self-respect piece comes in, where I've already made my decision. There's nothing that child can say that's going to alleviate, my heart scare. That's a real thing. I have too much, fear to bear right now, and I will not bear it anymore. It does not matter if they think it's safe. It does not matter if they're not scared. It does not matter, like, what else can they come up with? I don't know. We'll see what they come up with. But, like, I'm just saying, I'm pretty much going brain dead. I'm saying the same thing over and over again. And this is where heart scare comes in. There is no reason why they can't do it. There's no discussion on why they have to climb down or why they can't do this thing. There's no reason. There's no discussion. If I have to say this is a heart scare for Daddy, I'm very sorry. Period. That's it. I'm the parent. I get to choose what they do, what they don't do. And and here's where the humility comes in. If I cannot handle what they're doing, if I'm limited, maybe another parent is you could call it, say, more courageous than me. Maybe another parent lets their kids do this. Like, that's none of my business. My business is me as the dad to these two little girls, and what I can bear as this dad right here in front of these two girls. That's my business. And so anything that little girl comes up with, I've already made my decision. So any like, but Daddy, or any of that comes back at me, it's simply a heart scare. That's all that matters. It's all that matters, to this situation. It was a daddy heart scare, and it's not okay to, it's not okay to do. I'm not using any. And listen to this. This is important. I'm not using the word dangerous. I'm not using the word you could hurt yourself. I hear parents, stumble on this all the time. You're gonna fall. You're gonna hurt yourself. Like, I will never say those words. I will never speak those words over my girls. These are what you might call a curse. It's kind of speaking, words matter. And if I say that, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't speak negatively like that. And I don't have to. And as a parent, if you're a parent, you do not have to say these things. You simply have to have self-respect enough to say, and humility to say, I'm to yourself. You don't have to say this to the, kids don't have to hear this, but, I am too afraid to have my children do this thing right now. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's really dangerous. Maybe you're right. Maybe your feeling is right. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe the thing that they're doing is actually not that dangerous. And most playgrounds have padding, if a child falls. I get way more scared when they're climbing over concrete than over wood chips or soft rubber, flooring that is at a lot of playgrounds. So that affects my heart, that, and I think it should, I'm glad that it does. And so, but my point is, all this is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. I don't have to use the word dangerous. I don't have to say anything. I don't have to speak anything over my children that might, if I want them to feel my fear and stop. It's like, that is manipulation. Unless I stumble, I don't do that. Unless I stumble, I don't use the word dangerous. And I mean, a side note on that, if I don't even use those words in situations that actually are dangerous, like in parking lots and stuff, because I've mentioned this in other videos. I don't like to give my children the power of judging a situation to be safe or not. I've seen this backfire too many times where, I've done that, and then, a child thinks they know what's dangerous and what's not, or what's safe and what's not, and they think they have such a little understanding, as they should, because they're children. I think about it like this: they are not in charge of their own safety. If they were, that would be a bad situation. Of course, age appropriate, they will transition, and by the time they're 18, they will know what's safe or not to some degree. But in my stage of life, with a 5 and a 1, I don't share my opinion with them in terms of dangerous or not, and I don't try to manipulate them with, hey, that's dangerous or that's not safe to do that, because then they start thinking, oh, if that's not safe, oh, well, I'll just make it safe, then I can do it. And they start thinking, I'm giving them the power of judgment over a situation. I absolutely, I think that's in my opinion, if I'm doing that, that is a very dangerous thing for me to do. I do not want them being the judge of situations. As the adult, as the parent, I need to be the one that's judging the situation, and I need no input from them. So anyway, that was a side note on kind of the stumbling blocks that present themselves in the situation where I'm telling a child not to climb on something, not to do something. And if you decide to try this, this probably won't work the first time. This probably won't work the second time. This requires kind of, again, if you struggle with self-respect, this is gonna be very hard. It's gonna feel weird, and it's gonna feel selfish. It's gonna feel arrogant. And maybe one final note is that one beautiful side effect of this is the language this has given to my girls to communicate with me if they're feeling afraid, or if I notice that they might be feeling afraid. I ask them, sweetheart, was that a heart scare? Or I tell them, oh, that was a daddy heart scare. Was that a heart scare for you? And now we have language to speak about our fears, and that has actually been a very, kind of healthy and productive side effect of just me searching for a solution for the problem of, feeling afraid. And at the end of the day, it is my problem. And this goes back to kind of an overarching principle of my parenting is my children are not problems. They even if they misbehave, if I'm the one stumbling, this is my problem. If I'm feeling afraid, that's my problem. It is not on them, and I do not put things on them. I do not require them to fix my problems, even in an indirect, underhanded way, which, unless I'm stumbling. Again, I stumble sometimes, but if I'm feeling afraid, now this is might sound upside down, but if my girls are doing something and I'm feeling afraid, again, because I might be right or wrong, they could be completely safe, and I'm tripping thinking they're unsafe. I'm tripping, feeling afraid. It's a fine line to walk, respecting your feeling and also understanding I may not, it's just it is just a feeling. It may not be right or wrong, and at the same token, it's real. I have to deal with my own fear, and therefore, if I've had enough, I've had enough, and I need to step in and solve my own problem, which is being, kind of taking a little bit more control of the situation, as I should, as the parent. As I talk about, parents should be in control. That's a good and proper relationship between a parent and a child. A parent being in control of the situation, and the child doesn't always like that, and that's just part of the difficulty of parenting, and being in a relationship with an immature a person, an immature person. They don't like proper relationship, and they will let that be known and make it difficult, which they should, as children, or as immature children. Anyway, that is my explanation of heart scares and those situations that children are creating fear inside the parent. If you have thoughts or questions or comments, please leave them down below. I'd love to hear if you decided to try this, how it worked, or let me say this, how it didn't work, or if you did stick with it, if it worked or not. Love to hear about that. All right. Thank you. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.